Time for the Fantasy Fix with Jeff Pasquino, brought to you by the Piccalilli Inn, Route 206 in Chemung, home of South Jersey's best wings. All right, let's get a little Week 5 in the fantasy world as the Bears and Bucks play tonight. It's a little Foles and Brady. Let's get Jeff Pasquino's thoughts on the matchup tonight. Jeff, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How are we in Week 5 already?
I don't know. How are we in Week 5 already? But here we are. We got a good one tonight. It's the Bears and the Bucks, 2 3-1s. All right, let's see who should be active in the lineups on a Thursday night game here.
Well, I think we've got a couple buys this week. So we've got Green Bay and Detroit out. So you got to get some action in here if you can. Tom Brady's probably the only quarterback to consider. Got some concerns at wide receiver, though, for Tampa Bay, with Godwin being out. Evans is going to probably go. He's going to test his ankle before a game. But Scotty Miller is definitely an option as a wide receiver 3. So is Allen Robinson as a wide receiver 1. Gronkowski is a kind of iffy to be a tight end. He's definitely a go if Evans is out. Jimmy Graham is also in play at tight end. Running back, that's usually the key spot everybody focuses on. Ronald Jones is the guy at running back 1 with Fournette out. And David Montgomery is a running back 2 this week for the Bears.
All right, there you go. Thursday night, make sure you get your guys in the lineup that you want to get for your Thursday night football game. And don't forget, as Jeff mentioned, there are buys as well. If you have a question for Jeff Pasquino, text it in now, 609-403-0973. We're answering your fantasy football questions. Let's get a couple quarterbacks thrown your way. Justin Herbert at the Saints. This guy's been lighting them up.
Yeah, we like him this week. He's more of a quarterback, too, though. And that game is a little iffy as well. We get some schedule issues. That game could be moved to Indianapolis if there's bad weather because of Hurricane Delta, and we still don't know what's going on with the Buffalo-Tennessee game. But Herbert is more of a quarterback, too, this week.
Joe Burrow has been pretty good, but he's got on the road at Baltimore.
Yeah, Bengals are going to have to throw the ball, and that's really been how they've been moving that most of the time. The borderline quarterback 1 this week, even against the Ravens.
All right, what about Jared Goff against Washington? Goff been pretty good. Washington, not so good.
Yeah, and they just made a quarterback change in Washington, but Goff it's a pass-first offense. They are getting some running back help back, but I think that Goff he's doing the ball and throwing the ball around enough to warrant a quarterback 1 the rest of the way.
All right, last week, 49 points from the Cleveland offense. Baker Mayfield, is he ready to go back in your fantasy lineup?
No, because the Cleveland is a run-first offense. We're going to talk about the running back situation there in a minute, but I think that you really want to favor the running game for the Browns.
All right, we'll look at another quarterback or so here. How about Teddy Bridgewater against that awful Atlanta defense?
Yeah, Bridgewater is one of my sleepers for this year, and he's really panning out. I think him and Robbie Anderson are teaming up nicely. It's a good passing offense. Bridgewater's proving he's definitely a solid starter in this league. Against Atlanta, it's a great matchup. He's a quarterback 1 this week.
All right, let's get some running back takes from Jeff Pasquino. Don't forget, get your questions in. Hunter is compiling your questions from the text board, 609-403-0973. Let's look at some running backs here. And what about Mike Davis? Again, going against that Atlanta defense means you probably want to get someone like that in.
Yeah, he's a feature back. We see him as getting at least 20 touches this week against Atlanta, probably upwards of 80 to 90 yards, and probably find the end zone. He's a top 3 running back consideration this week.
Wow. All right. What do you think about, I know their defense isn't very good, but Todd Gurley had a little boost late in that game the other day.
Yeah, we have him as a running back, too. Atlanta, one of the teams I wanted to talk about. I think that Brian Hill and Ito Smith are both eating into carries. I think Hill is the guy that you want to get up on the waiver wire. If in a very deep league, consider Ito Smith, because Gurley was benched for a little while with knee problems, and they're starting to resurface again.
You mentioned the Cleveland running back situation. You got a lot of injuries there. So what are you doing with your Cleveland backs?
Well, Kareem Hunt's your running back lead now. So he's a running back 2, even against the Colts, who are very, very, very strong defense, a sleeper defense this year. But you also want to add Dearness Johnson if he's available. He's more of a running back 4/flex. It's a bad matchup against the Colts this week, but Cleveland likes to run the ball, and they like to use 2 running backs. Johnson is the number 2 on that depth chart now.
Good game by Antonio Gibson last week. Are you trusting him 2 weeks in a row?
It's a bad matchup. You got a lot of teams that are favored by a touchdown or more this week. That usually favors the favorite teams, and the running game for the other side does not do as well. Gibson is facing off against some really tough front four for the Rams. I think he's more of a running back 2 flex this week.
All right. I know the Giants' offense is horrible, but they're facing maybe the worst defense the NFL has ever seen so far in Dallas. So, do I play Devonta Freeman?
Well, I'll tell you that I am this week. I think that he's a solid flex option. This is going to be one of the best options for him to run against, as we saw what Cleveland did with 300-plus yards in the ground. I think Freeman's going to get 20 touches. He'll probably get 80 to 100 yards this week and might even find the end zone. But the Giants have only scored 47 points all year. That's the concern.
Unbelievable. All right, last one, Miles Sanders. Not sure. Philly doesn't seem to trust him late in the game, playing against a tough Pittsburgh team. A lot of people drafted him high, but do you play him?
I think you have to. I think he's a solid running back, too. Again, a couple guys are resting this week. He's a starter. He's going to get 20 touches. It's a question of if he finds the end zone, but I think he's going to get enough touches to warrant consideration both as a rusher and a receiver.
All right, Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com, fantasy expert, answering your fantasy football questions. Keep them coming in, 609-403-0973, and we will ask your listener questions here. Let's look at some wide receivers now. And, all right, I got to start here with Julio Jones. He's been having a tough year. He used to be one of the elite guys. What do I do with him?
Well, he's banged up, and it's really the Calvin Ridley show now. He's the number one guy. You've got a couple other guys that are filling in like Gage. Until Julio Jones is a breakout game, he's more of a wide receiver 3. This could be the option, though, against Carolina, but consider him as a wide receiver 3 flex guy until he gets that end zone.
All right, we dropped Odell Beckham earlier in the year. We kind of said he's not a number one guy anymore, but last week he looked like one. Now what?
Well, he's definitely a cowboy killer. Now it's a tough matchup against the Colts. I think he's a wide receiver, too. It's a tougher passing matchup, but I think Beckham is going to see enough targets to warrant a fantasy start this week.
All right. What about Juju Smith-Schuster? He seems to be the guy that everybody knows in Pittsburgh, but is he the best Pittsburgh option against Philly?
He is, and I think that he's going to get enough targets and volume to warrant a wide receiver 3 consideration, touchdown upside to push him even higher. The Pittsburgh game, they're going to run the ball more. Deontay Johnson's a great pickup as a wide receiver 3, but Juju is definitely a wide receiver 2 with some upside.
All right, last one before we get your listener questions, 609-403-0973. New quarterback in Washington, so what's that mean for Terry McLaurin?
He'll still see a lot of volume, and I think he's going to see plenty of catches, plenty of yards. Wide receiver 2, it's a tough matchup against the Rams. They have a great secondary and a good pass rush, but he's going to see at least 8 targets, so that's enough volume to get to be wide receiver 2.
All right, we got a bunch of listener questions today. We'll try to get in as many as we can. Keep them coming. 609-403-0973. Hunter, what do we got?
All right, with Cam Newton out, Foles or Bridgewater?
Bridgewater.
James Robinson or Miles Sanders?
Both are solid options, but James Robinson looks good against Texans.
McLaurin, T. Higgins, or Ayuk? Need one of them.
McLaurin, but I like Higgins in long term.
Jimmy Graham or Dalton Schultz?
Jimmy Graham, he probably has a better chance for end zone score.
Minshew or Jared Goff?
Both of them they're right next to each other in our rankings, but I like Goff against Washington.
Okay, this guy needs one. This is Joey D. Needs one for his flex. Mark Ingram, Darrell Henderson, or Hunter Renfrow?
Ingram shares the ball enough. I think Renfrow and PPR, but if you're looking for touchdowns, I'd go with Ingram.
Ronald Jones, Gaskin, or Crowder?
I would go with Ronald Jones because he's going to see at least 20 touches tonight.
All right, we will make sure you set your lineups, everybody. Get your bye week guys out. And by the way, Cam Newton is out. You got to get him out of your lineup. Get the COVID guys out of your lineup. Get probably your Titans likely out of your lineup. Probably your Bills out of your lineup. So that hurts a lot of people there. Make sure you keep your eye on that. Before we let you go, Jeff, a couple guys that you like this week, sleepers, waiver wires, players that you're playing in your lineups.
Yeah, I think one team we didn't touch on was the Chargers. We have some injuries there at tailback. Joshua Kelly's going to be your lead back. Justin Jackson can see touches. Both guys are worth a pickup. Also, Damian Harris is worth a pickup for the Patriots. He's probably going to be a lead back and do well against Denver this week. Wide receiver, T. Higgins is probably my number one wide receiver pickup this week. Zach Pascal, Tim Patrick, Greg Ward, Hunter Renfrow, and Deshaun Jackson are all wide receiver threes with touchdown upside. And tight end, we mentioned Jimmy Graham. He's a solid pickup. But Gronkowski, if everybody's out, if Evans is out this week, do not be surprised they've got OJ Howard out as well. Gronkowski could find the end zone and could be a tight end savior this week.
All right, there you go. Week 5, fantasy football. Get your guys in there. And, of course, as always, Jeff Pasquino from thefootballguys.com helping us out with the fantasy football fix here on the Sports Bash. Jeff, thank you, sir. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody, and enjoy the games.
All right, all guests appear via the Boardwalk Honda hotline, and our fantasy football fix with Jeff Pasquino is brought to you by the Piccalilli Inn. Be sure to call the Pick for all your game day favorites, like their award-winning wings, ears, and tails. Check them out at thepiccalilli.com.